You have to do it like this. In. Yes, it is. Hachinami, you could say this too. Dagav dikaina shina, because it was exhausted. Because Mumbaz's family, they were exhausted, and so they didn't want to have relations. Meganya bape, it was like too much of a burden, and it was like disgusting for them. Meganya means disgusting, but it means it was like too much of a burden. So therefore, they would have relations by day. And that's in other words, we're saying that there is a possibility that they were still praised for this, even though we've taught that that's not appropriate. But there is an exception that it seems like it would be appropriate if they're so exhausted. I guess let's say someone has a night job, yes, a night shift or whatever. So this would have to be a question that would have to be asked. Okay. Boitkin me to say they would do an examination, but Mila Parav.
They had a night shift, it'd be easier to get here.
With the cotton, we said cotton. Mila means wool, but Parhava means Parhava wool. So Rashi said it means cotton. Messiah Leil Shmuel. This is a proof to Shmuel. Damar Shmuel ein Boitkin asamitel pekulin. You only use pekulin, which is also Rashi translates as cotton. What is that little star? Hapekuli. That is so interesting. You see this Rabbi Kiveger. Rabbi Kiveger is sending us to Megillah Yudzayin. Over there, there's a discussion about the order of Rabbi Shimon Hapekuli. Said in front of Rabbi Gamliel the order of the brachas of Shemon Esrei. So he's telling us the way to get the name from, because he made these some sort of cotton. He says v'tzarchi and ksas. It must be that there's a different interpretation for what pekuli is over there. And that's why he's asking Rabbi Kiveger. The Gilyan Ashas is asking a question. Or what Shmuel says also, or you can use clean wool, verach and soft. Okay, good. So they used this soft cotton, and he says you can use pekulin. Amarav. Now, I don't know what Rav is referring to. He says, when I was there, on Erev Shabbos, what's the there? They were saying... Oh, in Eretz Yisrael. Oh, because Munbaz, I guess, had a house. At least, I know Helene was buried in Eretz Yisrael. There's but right by the old city, there's a place that's considered her grave, her tomb. Man boy pekuli benama. Who needs cotton with their bread? Now, bread was a euphemistic term for relations, and who needs cotton? I mean, the cloth, an examination cloth. I didn't know what they were talking about. Now I realize cotton was the cloth that they used. So I get what they were saying. Figured it out later. Amar Rava says, Hani sachki the kitna mali badika. These worn out kitna is flax, linen. Is good for examination. Aini, is that really so? Linen. But Tana de Bei Menashe, we have a brisa from the house of Menashe. The different yeshivas have different collections. And the house of Menashe had this collection that says, you can't use a red cloth. That's obvious. That's not going to work, right? Unless there were different shades of red that you might be able to see, but that would be difficult. You can't use a black cloth. You can't use flax. You're supposed to use soft wool or cotton, and not flax, not linen.
I don't want to use wet.
Hey?
A wet, because it might
get lost. That's a good point. We mentioned before about fluids that would, if it was a tiny drop of blood, would get lost. But we're saying here it's supposed to be soft. Question is how to soften it. So they would probably use it a bunch of times and like rub it out until it got soft, and then they would clean it. So habekisna habemani de kisna. There's a difference between flax and garments of flax. If it's a garment of flax, then it's already worn out, and that's different. Both of them are talking about garments of flax, garments of linen. One is new, and that's more tough. And one is when it's worn out, and that's softer because it's already used a lot. It becomes very soft. Okay.
Well, linen's processed flax.
Yeah.
Saying it's not.
But apparently, at least the way they had it, would have been more of a coarse material. It's not as soft as a cotton or a wool.
It says the whole thing is that it has to absorb blood. If the material can't absorb blood, then it's no good to check.
Now, is that the reason why not to use flax, or is that?
It says, talking about the different types of cloth, it says all cloths are fit for this purpose, provided that they have checked to see if they absorb blood.
Okay, that's interesting. He says pekulin. We were translating it as cotton. Pekulin, he says, is bundles of flax. How does that fit with that? What we were learning? One of the deals is called a pekuli. The Tana arranged 18 blessings. Oh, that's Rabbi Kiva Eger's kasha. Now I get it. Rabbi Kiva Eger was quoting pekuli because over there it says it's linen, and over here we're saying that it's cotton, and linen is a problem. So that's what he's asking. He says v'tzarchiin k'tzas. Okay. Noyigin tuma v'tara b'shlagim. Tuma and tara applies to snow. This is Rabbi Zevin wrote Ba'ar Halacha. Ba'ar Halacha. So he has an essay on this in Ba'ar Halacha about what's the status of snow.
It's interesting because snow it's not one of the 7 liquids, but the alter every sheet is something that's going to become liquid is treated as if it is liquid.
In what area does he say that? In Shabbos?
Yeah, in cooking.
Cooking on Shabbos.
That's
something that's going to
why
dissolve?
That's why we trade instant coffee the way we do.
Maybe that's
whereas
why.
the Mishnah Berurah is not concerned with all the things we do. Because he says once cooked.
Interesting. I know sugar is going to turn into liquid when you mix it. It turns to liquid. You have a discussion if you can squeeze lemon onto you can't squeeze lemon into a liquid and squeeze it onto a solid. If you want to make lemonade on Shabbos, can you squeeze the lemon onto the sugar? Because the sugar the problem is that it's going to become a liquid. I saw Kutzeisa Shulchan's thing on the bottom, Badia Shulchan. He says that you shouldn't because it's going to become a liquid. So maybe that's the same idea.
It's interesting.
But in that, Ar Alachi has this essay about sheleg, and
that's in Rabbi Zevin's book. I never noticed it there.
He has other essays, very interesting essays about Shailak with the pound of flesh. He has a whole essay on that as well in there.
Yeah.
It's like interesting things.
What's interesting is they already had the concept of stain-resistant cloths back in the day. We think it's new.
Right.
Obviously, it was available then.
It just wasn't a cloth.
Stain-resistant something.
Stain-resistant bark or something.
Tanan Hasamu stood over there. Sheleg, snow, ina layoichav mashke. Where's over there? It's a Tosefta in Taras. It's not a food and it's not a drink. Snow. Chishav alav la'achila. But if you think I'm going to eat this, so in other words, you put your mind to it. You take out your fork, right? Or a spoon, even. As long as you're not drinking it in a cup. Not a straw, right? Chishav alav la'achila. Eina metamet to masaychla, and it's still not considered a food. It's too far removed. However, lamashke, but if you do think that you're going to drink it, metamet to masmashkin, it does become a liquid. It does become a liquid. So your thoughts cannot turn it into a food, but they can turn it into a liquid. Look at the following thing. Nitma miktasei leinitma kulei. If part of it becomes tamei, so the tumah doesn't spread through the whole thing. Why? Because it's considered particles. Each one is a separate particle, so the tumah doesn't spread.
It says if a person designated the snow for eating, then his intention is disregarded.
It doesn't become a food, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In other words, his intention
doesn't help. But for liquid, it does. For a fluid, nitar miktasai. However, if part of it becomes tahar, nitar kulei, then it becomes entirely tar. Now, this is a interesting thing because really, you cannot put food in a mikveh to purify it. The only thing that can go into a mikveh is a vessel or a person. Food that becomes tamei doesn't become pure in a mikveh. with the exception of water, that water you don't put it in the mikveh. Water, you let it mix with the mikveh water, the zriya or hashaka, and then it's considered like it becomes like reborn again, and it becomes this new fluid.
You might not take the same water.
Right. But what you could do is you would put it probably in one hole, one pool in the ground, and you would make a little channel to let the waters touch. Then you would immediately stop it, so it would just be like a small mix, and then you would be able to get that water back if you wanted that water for whatever.
The Rambam said that once, if there's not much in Sefer Mitzvahs, not the Rambam, yeah. So if the channel's too small,
if it's too small, it needs to be prepared some night, right? Like 2 fingers.
Yeah, but if it's bigger, it's too that.
So it's too. Yeah. So very good. So here, what's happening is we're saying that snow could become purified as if it's liquid. Sort of contradicts. We're going to ask in a moment. It contradicts what we just said, because we're saying that it all becomes pure, but you said it all doesn't become tamei. That means, is it attached or is it not attached? Is it separate particles or is it one thing? Hagufakasha. This itself is contradictory. Amrit nitma miktsasei lei nitma kulei. You started off saying that if some of it becomes tamei, it doesn't all become tamei. Vadatani, and then you go back and you say nitma miktsasei nitma kulei. That if some of it becomes tar, it all becomes tar. Now the problem isn't that you're saying that it's one thing. The problem is l'meimer de nitma kulei. The problem is that what do you mean it all becomes tar? How did it all become tamei? How did it all become tamei? You can't touch every single particle. The only way that it all became tamei was because you said that if you touch a part of it, the whole thing becomes tamei. Then you said that, and to prove that, when you say that it becomes pure, it all becomes pure. But then you said that when you touch it, only that part that got touched becomes tamei. So it's a contradiction. Amar Abaya says, "Kein shavir al avir taner." We're talking about that you brought it over the airspace of an oven, and in the oven was a sheretz. And it's a tanner as a klicheres. The Torah hidal klicheres. The Torah testifies about a klicheres afilam malichardal. Even if it's filled with mustard seeds, that the entire thing becomes tamei. Now, mustard seeds are small seeds, and it's impossible for the walls to touch all of them. So, how does it become tamei? It's a proof that the airspace makes it tamei. So, the same thing would be with the snow. That the airspace there's no protection. Just the airspace itself will make it all contaminated.
The snow's in the oven.
Well, he takes the snow and he's taking it somewhere. I'm not sure, but he's taking it somewhere. Maybe he wants to use it for cooking or something, but he brings it over the oven, and in the oven was a sheretz, was something that was tamei. So all of this becomes tamei. That's how we're saying. How did it all become tamei? It's not a problem. It all becomes tamei because it went over the airspace. It went through the airspace of an oven. That was tamei. Not that it got touched.
It was open on the top.
Right.
Okay. I was thinking a box.
I had the same question. Yeah.
They used to have.
Yeah.
I had the same question.
Take the day off.
Taisus.
I need a picture. This Masechta should have a picture in it, because all the pictures are of the Tanner.
Your imagination does much better.
No, because they're Tanners.
Taisus over here mentioned something interesting. We always gave a measurement for what's able to transmit tumah by food. And that measurement was not a kazayas, but a kabeya. Usually, when it comes to anything that's prohibited to eat, it's a kazayas. When it comes to transmitting tumah, it needs to be the size of a kabeya. That's what we learned. And now we have a machlikas Rashi and Tosfos. When we say kabeya, what are we referring to? Are we referring to that if it's less than a kabeya, then the food can't become tamei? Or referring to less than a kabeya, the food becomes tamei, but it can't transmit it to something else? So Rashi learned that it can't transmit it to something else. This is probably the first piece that we learned in Zvachim. We mentioned this back in a little over a year ago. Rashi learned that it can't transmit it if it's not the right size, but it could become tamei. And Tosfos says that it doesn't even become tamei if it's not the right size. Taisus has a kasha. What are you talking about? Afilu mali chardal. These seeds are much less than kabeya. Taisus says it's lav dafka. Really, it's referring to mali beitzim. It's full of eggs. Okay.
Why don't you just say the airspace is a kabbalah?
No, it wants to say that even though you can't actually touch every part of it, all of this, the walls can't touch every part. Nevertheless, everything becomes tamei. So we took an example of we fill up an oven with mustard seeds. The walls of the oven. It's impossible to touch every single mustard seed to make it tamei. But we see that the airspace is what makes it tamei. So he says the same thing would have applied with an egg. It's just to use that example.
Kli cheres is an oven?
A kli cheres is a earthenware, but kugain she'avira al avir taner. We're talking about an earthenware oven, a clay oven. Okay, change topics. There's the new Mishnah. Mashal, Mashlu, Chacham and Be'isha. There's a parable that the sages gave for a woman's private area, or her internal organs, or reproductive organs. What are they? It's Hacheder, there's the inner chamber, the inner room. Haprezdar is a corridor, a hallway. Valia, and then there's an upper chamber. Praise Dud. Taisus is saying that this praise Dud is a Greek word. And okay, how does this work? It says Dam Acheda, the blood from the inner chamber, which is the uterus, is tamei. That's tamei. Dam Aliyah, the blood from the upper chamber, would be tar. I don't know if we know what exactly the upper chamber is referring to. Maybe it means the bladder or something, but I'm not sure exactly. But that it's not from the uterus, so it's tar. And nimtza bepreisdar, if it's found in the hallway, in the channel, so that's sveikai tamei. The Gemara is going to discuss what does this mean, sveikai tamei. Its doubt is tamei. Doesn't mean that its doubt is tamei vadai. It's a doubt because you don't know where it came from, so it's tamei vadai. Or it doesn't mean sveikai tamei that it's tamei safek. Sveikai tamei. Sveikai tamei. In other words, is it one word? Is it a
hyphenated?
Hyphenated word? Sveikai tamei. That's a doubtful tama. Or do we say sveikai? It's doubt. It's tamei vadai. We're going to see in the Gemara. It's not so clear. Because the chazaka is that it comes from the makar. When I end off the Mishnah and I say that the chazaka is that it comes from the makar, that means that it's sveikai is tamei vadai. The chazaka is that it comes from the uterus, and therefore it should be tamei vadai. That's what the Gemara is going to explain. Rami Bar Shmuel. I'm sorry.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
Can I contribute to science for a moment?
Go ahead.
No.
Tell us about the aliyah.
So the anterior chamber is talking about the bladder, which is anterior to the uterus. Sometimes, because of inflammation infections, a fistulous tract can occur like a straw between the bladder and the whatever you're calling that front end, after the uterus, where the blood comes out.
Right.
So that's why the Gemara will now go into, if the blood's on the back end, it obviously may have come primarily from the uterus, be done tummy.
Right.
If it came from the interior, it would have been blood from the bladder, and then it goes into the trachea.
Okay. Very good. Yeshakaya.
There's a trophy on your phone.
Rami Bar Shmuel, Rabbi Yitzchak Peider Rav Yehuda.
Mute.
Rami Bar Shmuel. What's Rami? Rami Bar Shmuel. I don't think Shmuel really had sons. Shmuel had daughters. So I'm not sure who Rami Bar Shmuel is, but Rabbi Yitzchak Peider Rav Yehuda. Here's Rav Yehuda, and Rav Yitzchak is his son. Tanu Nidda Bei Rav Huna, and they learned the Masechtas Nidda in the yeshiva of Rav Huna. Okay, Rav Huna is a student of Rav, and this is Rami Bar Shmuel and Rabbi Yitzchak Breder Rav Yehuda that are learning by Rav Huna. Ashkechenu Rabba Bar Rav Huna. So Rabba Bar Rav Huna finds them. We had Rabba Bar Rav Huna today once. We said Rabba Bar Rav Huna Mekashkesh Zagi the Kilta. He would shake the bell. That was Rabba Bar Rav Huna. We had him once. So he finds the Rami Bar Shmuel and Rav Yitzchak Breder Rav Yehuda that they're sitting. The Yasi V'Kamri, they're sitting and they're saying Hacheder, the inner chamber, mi bifnim, that's inside. V'apreisdar, and the corridor, the hallway, is mi b'chutz. V'aliyah b'nei al shteim, and there's an upper chamber on over both of them. V'lul is like a small room, or maybe like an opening. Pasuach bein aliyah lepreisdar, between the aliyah and the preisdar. That's probably what the doctor was referring to. And it's some sort of the blood could come through there if there would be an infection of some sort. Nimtzah min alul v'lifnim. Now that opening that goes from the upper chamber into the corridor, into the front room, into the corridor. So if the blood is found further back in the corridor, then it means it came from the uterus. The term here is svekei tamei. It's a doubt and it's tamei. It's a doubtful tumah. Svekei tamei is a doubtful tumah. Min alol v'lachutz svekei tar. If it's on the other end of the corridor, so then it's considered tahar. It's a doubt. It could, but the assumption is that it comes from the aliyah, the bladder. Now, the only way that you can really understand this would be if see a little box here? Ignore all the words. See the box? Yeah, there's a box here. Okay, ignore all the words. So let's say
there is motion at your front door.
Okay. So let's say there's an opening here in the praise door for it to exit the body. Opening, exit the body. That's right there. It's opening there. There's an aliyah up here, and here's the cheder back here. This area, this box is the praise door. So, if the blood is found in this corner, min halul, the opening here is the lul, right? Min halul v'lifnim, it came from here. Min halul v'lachutz, if it's on this corner, the blood, as the exit would be down there. But a lul v'lachutz, it didn't come from the mucker, it would have exited already if it came from the mucker. That's I think that.
So then who's Rabbi Bar
Rav Huna. He's over here. Rav Huna, the son. Rav Huna's son. Okay. What happens is, so Asava Amar Le La'avua. Rabbi Bar Rav Huna goes to his father and he says, Svekei Tami Amrit Lanmar. You taught that it's only a doubtful tumah, even milalul v'lefnim, even if it's found closer to the inside, it's only a doubtful tumah. Now notice how he says mar. There's a halacha if your son is your student, should the son call his father Abba, or should he call his father Rebbe? There it says mar, that he doesn't call him Abba. He calls him Mar, as in like the master, the teacher.
Can you call him Abba Murray? That's father.
Could be. But here, this is what he did. He called him, I taught my sons, and I would listen, and they would call me different things. But sometimes I remember hearing, like, this is Rabbi, and then I hear like a little voice, Tati, like amongst the. Okay. We said that it's chazaka. It's not a suffix. You said it's a chazaka, that it comes from the makar. And your students are saying that it's a suffix. He says, no, I said like this. If it's on the inside, it's vade. It's not svekei tamei, it's vade tamei. If it's in the outer part, that's a suffix. Chumrah. big chumrah. And even it's where the probability is that it came from the aliyah, the bladder, but it's still a suffix that could be its tummy. That's a chumrah. Amar Abaya. Abaya says, "Maishlam min alol v'lachos t'sveikei tummy." How could you say that it's a suffix? That it should be that it's tummy? How could you say that it's a suffix tuma over there? It must be. How did the blood get there? It must be the dilma shachsa. Maybe she bent over, and it ended up dripping from the uterus down into the other end of the prostate. Umecheder asa, and it came from the uterus. So if that's the case, minalul v'lefnim nami mizdakra umeali asa. So if you're creating a suffix when the probability is that it's not a suffix, that it's purely tar, how did you have a suffix? Because you say that she bent over in this way. So if you're saying that she bent over, then maybe she bent over the other way, and it's even when you said it's vaday tummy, it should also be a suffix, because maybe it came from the other side. Once you're opening it up to having a suffix because she turned in the wrong position, then the whole area is all a suffix because you don't know where anything. Elam Abaya says like this: you have two options, but you have to be consistent. If you're going to suspect to those things, so then they're both a suffix. If you're going to go after the assumed way that it's going to go, then minalul v'lefnim is vadei tamei, minalul chutz is vadei tar. Abaya says you have to be consistent with this. Tani Reb Chia.
Since when are we considered? One's a chomer, one's a kul.
So the problem is that the chumrah has in it a slight kula, and that is that you're going to burn truma, even though there's a possibility that it's only a suffix. So we can't take it all the way there if there is a suffix. The biggest chumrah is the suffix. Well, in practice, you have to practice it. You can't do anything with it, and you can't burn it. You can't eat it. All of that. Yeah, so that's why it's got to be. Tani Reb Chia taught damanim to be praised. The blood that's found in the corridor. Chayav alav bias migdash v'sarfin levis truma. It's a vadai tameh. You burn the truma if there was blood in that area and she touched truma. Rav Katina, Amar. Rav Katina, we had Rav Katina before in the connection to Rav, right? Rav Katina says, "Ein chayav al bias migdash ve'ein sarfin levis truma." No, you don't. You're not chayav if you enter the temple and you don't burn the truma. Why? Because it's a suffix. So let's go like this. Nidda Abaya, according to the version of Abaya that says that we follow the chash, all possibilities. You have to suspect. Maybe they jumped like that. So Messiah Rav Katina. So that's a proof to Rav Katina. Why? Because it's a suffix. Upliga de Rav Chia, but that would argue with Rav Chia because Rav Chia says it's a vaday. That's Messiah Rav Chia. If you follow the chazaka, then that's a proof to Rav Chia. Why? Because it's a vaday, and it's milalul v'lefnim, of course. Upliga de Rav Katina, now would argue with Rav Katina. Rav Huna, go back to Rav Huna, that he said that it's either a vaday or suffix. You could say loy pligi, kan milalul v'lefnim, kan milalul v'lachutz. There's really no machlokes between Rav Chia and Rav Katina. Each one is talking about where the blood was found in a different side of the prostate. If it was found milalul v'lefnim, the inner side, then it's a vaday. Milalul v'lachutz, that's what Rav Huna said, is a suffix. Abaya didn't accept that because he says if you're making sfeikas, then you have to be consistent. But nevertheless, according to Rav Huna, we can say that there's no machlokes between Rav Chia and Rav Katina. They said that it's either tahar or a suffix. Malul v'alchutz is tar, and malul v'lefnim is sveikei tamei. Tahani b'mayim mesukma. How are we going to establish this machlekes Rav Chia and Rav Katina? Malul v'lefnim, obviously it's malul v'lefnim, and it's a suffix. So leima plika de Rav Chia. Rav Chia has no option there. How's Rav Chia gonna learn this? Rav Chia says it's a vaday. They don't even have a vaday. So it's like kasha. There's no problem. Kan kishnimtza bekarka presa, kan mishnimtza begag presa. There's a difference if it's found on the lower part or on the upper part. If it's found on the upper part, then there must have been some sort of jumping, and so then it's a suffix. But Bekarka praised her, then we'd say it's a vadai. On the bottom. In other words, we have a box over here. The box, that's where it exits. But if you find the blood up there, then it must have been, that's a suffix. There we have no idea where it comes from. But if you find it in that corner, then it's a vadai from the makar. From the... Okay. There's 3 places that the sages followed the majority. And they made him like a definite. It's only a majority. But nevertheless, it's like a statistic. But nevertheless, they said it's definite. Now, what are these 3 places? The Gemara is going to have a big issue with this because the whole Torah you follow the majority. But meanwhile, this is what it says. Makar is the uterus. We say you follow the majority. We say it's a vadai. If it's found in the mil'alul v'lefnim, from the inner part of the chamber, the corridor. Shilya is a placenta. We're going to follow the majority. And chaticha is a piece of a stillborn, a limb of a stillborn. We're going to follow the majority. Makar, what is this with makar? Hadamran, we just said you follow the majority. You say that it's a vadai tamid. Shilya, what's the story with the placenta? The Tanana was taught in the Mishnah. Shilya babayis, habayis tamid. If the woman gives birth to a placenta, the house is tamid. V'leisha shilya vlad. It's not because the placenta is a birth, is a fetus. Elishain shilya b'lei vlad. But the problem is that there's no such thing as a placenta without a fetus. So it must have been there. There must have been the fetus, and therefore the house is tamid because there's a carcass,